Hey everyone, and welcome to our meditation drawing. And I'm going to take it really easy this evening. I'm going to take it nice and gently, take it nice and slowly. And I think I'm just going to go right back to basics in terms of the simplicity of focusing on the breath, focusing on the connection to the page and to the flow and movement of our drawing materials. And so, do anything you need to prepare, get yourself a hot drink, or find yourself a very cozy little place in the house. Get any cushions or blankies you might need, and any support you feel like you need. This is a really busy time. And so in the busyness, how do we allow for the busyness? But then how also do we carve out the space to slow down, space to ease the nervous system, space to come back to the simplicity of the breath and the here and now. So rather than racing forward with our to-do lists or even reflecting back on previous events, let's see if we can spend a good amount of time today just being very viscerally here and engaging and becoming aware of what is actually just here now. And we'll move and we'll draw from this place. So for those interested in astrology or human design, the sun is currently in gate 11. And gate 11 is called flow. And it's the movement of the heaven on the earth in the Chinese I Ching. And so it's really about flow and support. And so that's a lovely energy to kind of incorporate and bring into our work today. So let's start. We'll start with a short meditation for about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll go into a drawing exercise. So do have your art materials fairly close by. I'll be kind of gently moving you into an exercise, but I'm kind of almost going to get set up now. I'm just going to use a very simple marker today. Just going to have it ready on the page, ready to go for afterwards. And I'll be instructing you through a very simple, straightforward, creative exercise, breathing exercise, and we can really just tune in on a deeper level to the experiences that we're having in the here and now. Okay. So let's start with the simplicity of the breath. And I just want you for now to notice the fact that you're breathing. And don't necessarily come with any assumptions with that. Don't automatically consider I'm focusing on the breath, so I need to look at this or pay attention to that. I just want you to drop all of that today. And I just want you to pick one part of the breath that you're noticing. What is it? Is it one or two very simple things? And with the senses that we have available to us, perhaps one of these senses is becoming more alive as we begin to slow down and notice the simple act of breathing in and breathing out. So if it feels comfortable for you, perhaps closing your eyes and breathing in and breathing out. And moving through the senses now, just ask yourself these simple questions as you continue focusing on your breath. What is it that I feel when I'm breathing? Are you feeling anything at all? Are you noticing the expansion and contraction of the breath? Maybe the movement of your clothing on your shoulders or chest. Perhaps it's the expansion and contraction of the belly. Perhaps it's the cool air moving in through your nostrils or your mouth. Perhaps it's the slightly warmer air as you exhale. Perhaps it's your shoulders being pressed against the back of a chair or seat. Or perhaps it's nothing near your breath. Perhaps your hands feel really heavy on the table or on your lap. Perhaps your legs feel dense. Noticing the sensations where your feet touch the ground, where your thighs touch the seat. Really just noticing. Or is there an aliveness or an excitement, perhaps in the stomach area or in the chest? Anticipation, excitement. Just noticing. Or are you drawn by this taste that's in your mouth? Perhaps from the last drink you had or the last piece of food. Perhaps that's dominating your focus and attention. Perhaps your head feels heavy with planning and scheduling and to-do lists. Or perhaps your focus is actually outside of this body of yours. Perhaps there's a smell, a scent in the room that you're picking up that's drawing you outwards. Or perhaps there's a sound in the room or even the rain against the window pane. Perhaps it's what you see with softened gaze or even behind those closed eyes. So whatever's happening, and things are always happening, there's a part of us that is able to observe, to notice what is happening, whether that be internally within our bodies or externally in the outside world. And just notice, even during the short meditation, you might have actually followed me around the inside of your body to the immediate environment around you now, or perhaps to a larger environment in the room or outside. And you have the capacity, you're able to have an attention that moves from inwards to outwards and back and forth. This is one of the things we're able to do. And often as we do this, we tend to realize that the lines of separation between us and the outside world may not be as definite as we always assume it to be. You may feel something outside the room as if you're feeling it inside your world. So just noticing this and bringing this really gentle, soft awareness into our practice for today. So if possible, I don't want you to necessarily change anything. But I'd like you to slowly perhaps open your eyes or bring your focus onto your drawing material. Maybe picking up whatever you're choosing to use today. And we're going to keep this focus. We're going to keep this attention on this relationship between inner world and outer world, using our breath. So perhaps putting your pen or pencil on or close to the page. We're going to start a process of drawing by closing our eyes and following my instructions. So even before we start, what can you feel as you place your hand on the page and you grip your pen? I can feel the coolness of the page on one side of my hand. I can feel the gentle tension of my thumb and my finger as I grip this drawing equipment. Perhaps even I put my hand flat on the page for a moment and really take in the page in a different way. And you want to close your eyes as you do this, or even turn and look away, just drawing your hand over the surface of the page. On the one hand, we have the coldness or sensation of the page on the outside of our hand. We also have an internal relationship in the muscles and ligaments of the hand as we grip this pen. So this is a really subtle awareness. We're really honing in on the details, and the flow of awareness and focus from inside the hand to outside on the page and back again. So when I'm giving your instructions, you can move your focus of attention. You can flow between what you're feeling externally or what you're feeling internally. So whenever you've got a good sense of the page and sense of the feeling of the pen, I'd like you to place your pen on the page and perhaps closing your eyes and taking a breath in, and on the out breath, simply beginning to draw what's getting your attention in this moment. What is it that's getting your attention? And with your eyes closed or softened gaze, just finding a movement that might represent this. And remember that this is going to change continuously throughout this practice. 1 minute, like I am now, could be focused on that flat feeling of the coolness of the page on the hand. And on the next, I might just be dealing with the tense feeling of gripping onto this pen and having to create a mark. My drawing becomes the interaction and the relationship between these two things. Just when I think my focus will stay on my hand, as I take a breath in, I really begin to notice this movement of my breath. It feels in a funny way that my chest is expanding even more than it was at the start of this meditation. It feels as though my breath is getting deeper. My chest seems to be expanding. And so my shape and the flow of my pen on the page begins to reflect that. So I want you to lose any ideas or preconceptions. I want you to forget that this drawing is supposed to look like anything. And I want it to be like an awareness marker. And as your awareness moves from inside to outside, from your feet on the ground to the tingles on your head. Just really allow your drawing to be a map of this moment by moment change. And if you feel lost or stuck or you just don't know where to focus, just stop. Just resting for a moment, just coming back to the breath and just noticing, waiting for something to catch your awareness again. Perhaps your sit bones on the chair, leaving this impression on the muscles and the bones, the sit bones. Perhaps this moving to a tingle in the belly. To this feeling to the top of my breath, to the top of my head. What's becoming alive for you as you slow down and focus? Is there an uncomfortable sensation that seems to be getting your attention? Have you suddenly remembered something you forgot to do today? And beginning to worry or think about things that have nothing at all to do with this moment in time. Really just doodling, playing. Perhaps bringing separated elements together. There's no sense. There's no rhyme nor reason to what's unfolding. It's just watching the attention flow around different parts of your mind, different parts of your body. And just allowing the drawing to represent that flow. Or parts of your body becoming alive. If so, How can you draw aliveness? Is it a quick movement, short gestures, or is it a long, continuous flow of contours and shapes? Just really playing, really letting go of any form you feel has to look a particular way, or even that you have to feel a particular way. Just because you're doing this exercise of drawing and meditating doesn't mean that anything has to be a particular way. Letting go of any ideas and just becoming almost childlike. Really creating shapes and patterns that simply represent the way you're feeling, the way you're sensing. Perhaps you're creating this world where you're beginning to become utterly lost. And in a time of busyness, when we're thinking so much, we're planning so much, how can we let the other part of our experience, the imaginary, how do we let this play? There's a certain temporariness. One minute, a dull ache sensation arises in the stomach. Before you know it, that's just moved on. There's awareness of a tension in the back of the shoulder. And again, before you know it, that's moved on to focus on the breath. Begin to realize and recognize that these things that define us, that we think are us, are simply coming and going, moving to the fore of the attention and then moving back into the recesses of the experience. And here we flow back and forth on a continuous basis. And as you lose yourself in the simplicity of mark making, you lose yourself in the simplicity of flowing marks on page. All sorts of ideas come and go. And ideas can be wonderful things. You may have so many ideas in a day, but they're not all necessarily for us, nor are they necessarily meant to be enacted. How do we decipher which experiences are for us? Which ideas are ours? And which are simply like clouds passing overhead? And as we focus and pay more attention, what do we notice? Even just for a minute, stop your drawing and just look at what's emerging on the page. Are you judging it? Deciding if it's good or not good? Or are you intrigued, fascinated by this world that's emerging? What would it be like to let your imagination go? What would it be like to just let this flow continue without any idea of what it may be or may not be? Or perhaps there's a part of the image which is telling you something very definite. You want to explore this and dive into this particular world, not focus or think about anything else. Perhaps there's one tiny corner of this image that you just can't take your eyes off. What would it be like to explore this? Perhaps there are little characters appearing. Perhaps a story is emerging on the page, just going with this. And even as you get lost in some imaginary world, come back to your breath and recognize you can fantasize and be somewhere else and still be very present in your body. Your imagination can go on a journey, but your feet can still be very much on the ground. Perhaps you're tired of drawing the flow now and decide that there's particular areas that you'd like to color in. Add different colors. Different lines, different shapes. As your image moves from being perhaps one set idea into many, many different words, many, many different forms. How is your breath in this moment? Is the pace different? Does it feel different than how it was when you first arrived? As we enter into the last 5 minutes of our drawing practice for today, is there something that needs to be done to complete today's exercise? Where has the flow taken you? And is there a way of bringing that flow to what may be a more natural ending? there a part of your page which leaves just open and empty and you feel like it needs to be filled, or are you satisfied that you've covered everything that needs to be covered? I have a feeling I could go on, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a look at what I've drawn and just take it into my being. To look back and see the journey my imagination has gone on for the last 30 minutes or so. Are you touched by what you've drawn? Are you intrigued by what you've drawn? Perhaps this drawing is an opening, the beginning, the start of something completely new, a different flow altogether. Or perhaps this is the end of a flow, the completion of something, an ending of what was. Ask yourself the simple question, what do I see? And if there's a word or sentence that maybe captures your flow for today, perhaps writing that down alongside or near there. And perhaps even after we've stopped, you may want to write or even continue drawing. Slowly coming back to yourself. Perhaps just a little bit of movement, perhaps even a stretch, a yawn. Noticing the feelings in your body, the thoughts going through your mind, perhaps gentle massage of the hands. Noticing the difference between the hand that has done the drawing and the hand that hasn't. Noticing the sensations. And even putting the hand back on the page, feeling its coolness. And the difference between when we started today and how you are now. Thank you very much for sharing this meditation drawing. I certainly feel like I've traveled off into another world. Felt like I flowed to somewhere very new. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.